Good afternoon, everyone. We hope you are enjoying your time with us, and a very warm welcome to any newcomers. Welcome to the first of the JPO International Virtual Music Festival Music Unboxing Series. Joining us is Adolfo Timuat Toyoda, who is a renowned guitarist and luthier, with guitar making schools in various parts of the world. Please refer to the festival website for more details. We hope that you find this experience to be an interesting one.
Good afternoon. My topic is about classical guitar and ukulele making. Now, before we show you some pictures and how it's done, I want to talk about what a guitar is. Now, if you have a string, just a string, and you play the string, you won't be hearing a lot of sound. But if you make a body, it could be a guitar or violin or whatever, if you made a cavity. So when you play the string, the sound will be louder. Ukulele or guitar. Now, we just don't want to make it louder. We also want to make the sound beautiful. And you also want to make the body, which is the guitar, artistic and can withstand the pull or the tension of the six strings. In order to make a good guitar, you have to know a bit of, not a bit, but a lot about physics, acoustics. Uh, you have to have skill with tools on how to use it. You also have to know a lot about wood. You have to know also the humidity, the climate. You also have to have this artistic sense so that you can make a beautiful looking, beautiful sounding, and strong enough guitar or instrument. So if we go down into some of the wood we are using, for a classical guitar, there are a few wood that is like traditionally used. Generally, the soundboard, which is the front part of your guitar. By the way, this is a guitar I made here in Sabah using the local wood. Anyway, the sound is imported. This is a German spruce soundboard. You can use the cedar, which is also quite popular now. Some coniferous soundboard or tree or wood could be used for your soundboard. But if we talk about building a concert guitar, you really have to be very specific on how the wood is cut and treated, because that's where the vibration or the sound is reproduced when you play the strings. The back and side traditionally was using Brazilian rosewood, but because it's very it's protected now, you cannot really buy good ones. So you can use other kind of rosewood. The very more common rosewood they are using right now, more available, is the Indian rosewood. But you have other rosewood which you still, I think you can still buy, like Madagascar, Cocobolo. Those are very, very good wood back, for the back and side. This is a flamenco guitar, so I'm using a blonde wood, which is a traditional flamenco wood, okay, cypress. And like I said, you have to know a little bit about physics, because if you see the guitar string and then when you tune it to standard pitch with all the six string pulling, if you will guess, I don't know if you have an idea, this is going to pull from around 40 to 65 kilos. Acoustic guitar is more than double. But this is a nylon string guitar, which will be something like yeah, 40 to 65, depending on the brand of the strings it's gonna pull. So it has to be strong enough. The guitar has to withstand that tension. And we have the break angle, which is, if you can see here, over here, that's a contact of the string with the saddle bone. This is made of cow bone. And you have the break angle, which pushes also downward. All right. So the best guitar has an angle of around 45 degrees. Okay. So boom, and then 45 degrees. If the angle is too high, the push will be too much for the guitar to bear. Remember that the soundboard is something between 1.8 to 2.5 millimeter thick. And I should say thin. It's very thin. So you could imagine that 24 hours a day, for how many years, the string is going to pull non-stop. The wood will warp if it's not properly built with the bracings inside. I'll show you some pictures in a while. So one thing is, you want to make a guitar that can withstand the tension. If you make it too thin, the neck and the body will warp, will go like this. Or this will sink because it's too weak. Now, if you build it too strong, there will be no sound. We call it overbuilt. Too much wood, and it cannot vibrate. Too much cannot vibrate enough. So the guitar maker has to balance the stiffness of the wood, how thin he has to go. So in his mind, remembering the 65 kilos tension and the sound, that's acoustics now, will still project a good sounding guitar. Now, so we talked about physics and a little bit of acoustics. You know, the thickness of the side also will affect the quality of the sound. If it's too big, it will sound bassy, a lot of bass, because the air cavity inside is too big. When it's too thin, then it will sound too trebling, with no bass practically enough, because not enough air cavity. So the maker has to balance the kind of sound and depending on the wood, we call it the timbre, will influence your guitar. Artistic part is when you have to make your own design here. That's called the rosette. You have to do one by one, making the rosette and inlay it. And of course, you want to make the side, the carvings nice. You know, these are all part of your skill, artistic skill. Some has a lot of design here, and yeah, they elaborate their artistic values. If they're very good with their imagination is good, you can apply that also. Of course, not only that, but you have to be skilled in using tools, in working with wood. So that requires a lot of time to master, because you have to know how to use your chisel, how to use your planer, how to use your saw, and so many, not really many tools, but many parts of the guitar that you have to master in making your perfect concert guitar. So maybe I could show you some pictures if, yeah, I think you want to see some pictures. Do you have some pictures, Tommy? So, all right. So whatever. Okay. So whatever. Just show me one. Okay, now. All right. So could you please wait a second? So we could. We're going a bit slow in our internet here. So is that okay, Tommy? Yeah. All right. So if I'm not mistaken, that's the back with the classical guitar pattern. I have used here the Rosette French guitar, famous guitar maker's pattern. So the wood is already prepared. It's like yeah, 2.5 mm thick, and yeah, I'm just showing you how to start with the back. Okay, Tommy, can you want to go to the next one? Hmm. So let's see if I can show you the next one. Anyway, yes, talking about ukulele making, it's most it's not as difficult as making the guitar. The total tension on a ukulele, which is four strings, is 17 kilograms, 17 kilo, compared to around 40 to 65. So what we have is a small instrument, a smaller instrument, and it will sound brighter, and because it only has four, that's the local wood from here, Agathis boromensis, and I'm using this wood here for making the back of a flamenco guitar. So go to the next picture, just go fast. Okay, that's the way we glue the center. That's the way I taped it, and I already tied it, and that was the former one. Okay. Okay, now I draw the line for the bracings. So the three bracings, those are the bracings. Okay, and yeah, there's a curve. This is what we call a solera. It has a certain curve so that the back of the guitar will produce a little concave shape. Yeah. So let's go. Okay, Tommy's gluing the back over there. All right, go. Okay, so that's how we build the back. Now, about bracing, the bracing the back is not just putting the bracing on three parts. No, I do it by holding the wood. If it's a piece of wood before it's shaped to a guitar, I hold it and then I tap it. Now, if the location of my finger where I hold the wood is in the wrong place, the wood will not vibrate properly. So I have to locate the exact position of where I should hold, which is something like around between 1/3 of the wood and a little bit lower sometimes. Depends on the wood it is. But if I hold it properly on the right place, and then if I hit it, it will ring. Okay, when it rings, that's where I put the cross bracing. One here. I have to locate where the what we call the nodal point is, so that the wood will vibrate properly. And I also do over here, down here, to put the bracing. I look for the right nodal point, and then I put the bracing. The middle bracing is when I flex the wood, when I bend the wood this way. When I bend the wood this way, it creates a hill. That's where the toughest part is where I put the bracings. All right. When I tap on the wood, when I hold it in the proper place, and then when I tap it, I listen to it first before I use the wood. Because some wood, even if it's the same variety, when I tap it, it sounds dead. It doesn't vibrate bright enough. I don't use those kind of wood. When I tap it, I want to hear a clear sound and a long sustain. Well, all of this is scientifically, you can analyze it if you like scientifically, but I learned in the Spanish style of the traditional way in Spain. I've been living there for more than 34 years, and I've been building guitars. I learned from the masters. Anyway, the way they do or we do is to tap the wood and listen to the damping, listen to the bright sound, listen to the vibration, and how high or how low the pitch is. It will tell the maker will tell me if this wood is good or bad for making guitar. Normally, the soundboard is very important. The soundboard, it has to be like quarter tone, not only quarter tone, but without runouts. When you have a wood which has a runout, these two, this is two wood, this one and this one, book match, we call it. But if there is a runout, one side, when you look at the light, will be darker than the other side. And then when you turn the wood around, then the dark side will become lighter and this side will become darker. We don't like that kind of wood because that will not contribute to the sustain because the fibers are shorter than cutting inside. So we want one long fiber from here to there. At least the long one is the best sustaining wood for the sound. I mean, the sound will be longer in sustain. Okay. Now, do we have other pictures, Tommy? The neck and the back and the soundboard, you know. All right. Now, I want to go to. Okay, just show. Yeah. All right. So this is what I was talking about. So okay, that's what I call about being artistic, because now you can see that these are those things you see in the picture. The rosette is handmade block by block, very small pieces. This is more or less the idea of how to make a simple rosette. This is just a simple rosette that yeah, Tommy here is learning how to make guitar. He did his first guitar. And this is the way of cutting the channel here, the holes here, so that you can inlay the wood. Okay, let's go. So now you can see that the channel, and yeah, you are going, the sound hole is open using the thing. Yeah, let's go. And okay, he's starting to put the first black and white combination. I think there's a red also inside. Yes. All right. So now slowly he's building the rosette. This is really, doesn't really contribute to the sound, but it makes the aesthetic, adds to the look of the guitar, make it nice looking. You can make it, I mean, the sound will not really be affected, but yeah, you want to make artistic and nice looking guitar as well, instrument as well. All right. Okay, it's almost getting done. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, okay. So, right, that's Elvis over there. Okay, now the bracing. We have bracings. How many do I have over there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The reason why we have 9 bracing on this one is because the soundboard is cedar, which is softer. This is a very soft wood, and in order that it will withstand the tension, you have to put more bracings. Like this one has 9. On this guitar, I only have 5, and it's strong enough because the soundboard is stronger than this wood you can see in the picture, which is cedar. So because of this wood, which is softer, we put more ribs, more bones in the inside, or it's called the abanico, or the fan bracing, and that's how I do. Yeah, using how do you call it, the tension rods. Yeah. Now you can see that we have a victory under, after putting the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 bracings, we have a victory down here. All right, this victory has 2 purposes. First is so that when you bump the guitar, the crack will be stopped by the victory. If we don't have that victory bracing over there, it will go all the way up to the top. You don't want that. Another thing is it will stiffen this area. When you stiffen this one, the pitch of the wood will go up. And because it's pressed down into the little curve, it will add to the air cavity inside, to the volume inside. It will tense the wood. It will make it like as if you're tuning your string, make it tighter, and the vibration will be much more better. You can see the 2 bracings up here. All right, same manner. I hold the wood first and then tap it and locate the right place so that the nodal point is exactly where the bracing will go. and one on the other is again the same thing. When I flex the wood, when I curve the wood, it will be the top of the hill, the top of the curve, the most top of the curve. That's where I put it. So it divides to like a chamber, one part the lower valve and one part in the upper valve. Okay. So those are the things I want to show them, the bending, how we bend the side of the. I'm using a hot iron to bend the side over there. Yes. All right. So if you can show that, that will be great. All right. I was bending, I think, the ukulele side of a ukulele. All right. Actually, it's a piece of metal which you plug in, it becomes very hot. Before I bend the wood, the side to the shape of the guitar. Yeah, before to the shape of the guitar, I soak it into water, and it's like ironing your clothes, so the wrinkle will come out. But in this case, you want to bend the side, and in order that it won't break.
Sometimes a little bit more than the curve. Because when it dries, it likes to go back. It has what we call a memory. The wood likes to go back when it dries. So now I have it about this much. The shape is like that, huh? So see? Okay? So maybe a little bit more. It wants to go back.
Oh, I see. It's almost perfect.
Almost, but not enough.
I really wanted to hug that.
As much as we can.
All right, so that's how the side is bent. You have the hot iron that you push slowly, avoiding it to get to break. Do it slowly. It takes some time before you can really perfect the art of bending the wood. Some wood are stubborn. Some wood are so hard to bend, like some rosewood. Quarter-sawn rosewood is tough. Takes me sometimes around half day just to bend the sides. Some wood are not very difficult, but it's you have to learn how to use it. It's not difficult. Nowadays, you can use this machine that you just put the wood inside, and then it will go down to the shape. It's called the universal side bender. You really don't need to know how to bend wood. You just put the wood over there, and then the machine will automatically drop and squeeze it into a mold, into a shape. It's a very hot iron also, and then you have the side bend. But the problem with that one is you cannot change the shape. I mean, that will be the shape forever. All the guitar you will make will have the same shape. Sometimes you don't want to have the exact shape of a guitar, depending on what sound you're looking for. So in our case, we call it freehand. We bend it by our, without the machine, but by our hand. We just do it together, slowly, one by one, not together, but I mean, I'm talking about both sides, you know. While you wet one side, you do the other, and then after that, you do the other one. All right, do we have more picture? How about the neck? Also the neck, or that's the side which is already more or less bent, I suppose. Yeah. All right, so you can see that's the bent side. And it's ready for, yes, that's the tail block. This is the tail block. We have the block inside here, and that's where it goes. And what's that? That's the parking, I suppose, if I'm right. The parking is this one, the black one on the corner, on the edge. You also do it by hand, one by one. I do it by hand, one by one. Sometimes it's ebony. On this guitar, it's rosewood. You can use rosewood or ebony. Those are the tiny blocks that goes inside to each corner, all around the guitar. The reason why you have to put those things is so when you glue it, there's enough space for the glue to stick, the side to the front or the side to the back. Gives you more space, more area for the glue. And that's yeah, the lining. You cut it one by one, make it into So it's flexible, it becomes flexible. All right. Okay, let's see the neck. I want to show them the neck. Anyway, those are part of the inside of the guitar. Now I want to show you how the neck is made, if we have a picture. All right. So I'm already, this is already like blue heel and headstock here and starting to cut it. All right, that's how handmade guitars are cut, not with the machine, but you use your saw and everything, you measure it right, or else you don't get the correct scale length, which is 650 millimeters. All right. So that's the slot where the side will go inside. It will go over here. That is where the side meets the neck, and this is what we call the Spanish shield. You have inside you have this long tongue. You can see that it has a long tongue over there. Yeah. So yeah, that's with the soundboard prepared, and that's the more or less getting to the shape of the side of the heel, and that's the template. Goes inside here. That's to check if it's deep enough and wide enough so that the side can smoothly go inside, right? And that's the head plate here. Okay, you glue a piece of hardwood. In that case, I think that's billion or rosewood, or could be a billion, I think, or Indian rosewood. I'm not very sure. Okay, you can see the side shaping the side now here. Okay, and then you can see that the side of the guitar is together already. All right. And the fret is there, fingerboard, we glued. Okay, I think we're skipping a few things, but anyway, that's how it's done. All right. So, do you have more pictures? That's it. All right, that's when we were trying to assemble the soundboard and the neck. Okay, it has to be very straight. This has to be very straight. Very straight. The neck cannot go this way or this way. It has to be perfectly straight. Okay, let's do the other picture. Yeah, and after that we are assembling the side. We put the side inside the hole here in the neck, and then with the tail block we make we put it to the soundboard. Yeah, so you can see now the soundboard is facing the Solera, facing the table, and then so do the next one. That's how we make the slot for the guitar. First we drill a hole on the edges, and then we cut it down. Okay, and then we drill a hole also. I measure it properly, that it's in the right angle with this little plastic over there, which is actually a level. All right, that's already, I guess, with the sound, and that's the tiny blocks I was talking about, the tenon blocks that will go around the circumference of the guitar. All right, okay, more or less you can see it's already with the tenon blocks all around. All right, okay, Tommy is gluing now, preparing to glue the back, I suppose. Okay. Oh, the lining. He was making the lining also, gluing to make the gluing surface bigger. All right. So you use cross pins, or I don't know how to call that, metal pins. Cross pins. Yeah. Now it's done. All right, making the slot for the back to go inside. Because the cross bracing will bother. The cross bracing will the edges, so you have to make a hole over there in the lining so that the bracing will go inside. Okay, that's the post. You cannot see it from here, but anyway, that thing, that's for the support. For sometimes by time this side here will sink, will become. So you don't want that. So you want to make it straight. So you put a post here, which is over there in the picture, so it will support this part not to sink. Sometimes it does sink. And you can see the hole over there. I'll use a ruler so that the back will go on the right slot, on the right hole. All right. So, okay. That's a little weight I put on top so that it will stay in where the hole is anyway, just to support. All right. So putting the line and testing first if it's perfect. All right. So and then maybe that's when we already put the glue, and I'm using these wire clamps, all around homemade wire clamps. You just have to make it yourself so that the pressure will be all even. I do not use a rope like most does. I don't know if they do it, but anyway, I don't like ropes. I just want the edges to be cramped. I think the rope will squeeze the guitar, and I don't like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's already the assembled guitar with the soundboard in the back and everything together. All right, just to see the angle. This angle is very important. Yeah, I have a little bit like 1 mm angle so that it's easier to play. If it doesn't have an angle, sometimes you have to put the string so high, and it's hard for the left hand to press. So you don't want that kind of guitar, and you have to put the fingerboard thicker, which makes the instrument heavier. I don't like heavy instruments, so try to get to the minimum without warping. Okay. Okay. So now I shape the neck after I've assembled all the things. And that's Tommy's guitar. Okay. Right, you can see Spock shape doing its job. Okay, file, wood file, and now Tommy is making the channel here, preparing to make the parking, to put the parking. Yeah. Now you can see the channel over there, ready for parking. Okay. Okay, and then you have to check how thick it is so you don't overboard by making the channel too deep or making it too shallow. You don't want to make it too shallow or else you have to scrape the wood and then sometimes you over scrape it. No more, no more wood. Okay. All right. Now you use what we call the webbing, the web stringing of the parting. You tie it all around like a spider web. And nowadays, I think in the internet, I see they use masking tape and all that. I think that's okay, but I prefer doing it that way, the Spanish way. I think requires more skill, but it's part of luthiery. You have to learn those skills. So in my case, I don't use tape. I prefer to learn it that way, which I learned in Spain. Yeah. We file now the excess, excess the veneer, and also the parting. Okay. Okay, that's the nose. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now you're sanding the back. Yeah. You have to be very careful sanding anyway, because that's scraping the parting. All right. Okay, that's the fingerboard. Preparing to glue the fingerboard. I make sure that the measurements are all right, or else the guitar will not. You cannot tune the guitar properly. All right. And then that's how I glue the fingerboard to the neck using clamps. All right. And then yeah, I make the slot of the fret, and then I slot it one by one. I hammer it with the wooden hammer, and yeah. So we have a few frets already. All right. And the first coating, I suppose that's the first coating. It's a 50-50 lacquer and thinner, just to make the fiber of the hair or the fiber of the wood stand, and then I would sandpaper that flat. Okay, same with the soundboard. Okay, more or less getting there, shiny a little bit. Yeah. Now the bridge, making the bridge. I always make the guitar and then check the height and everything for the bridge to be glued on the right height, depending on the height of the fingerboard, because not all the guitars will be perfectly the same as it is. I mean, they are not always the same. Some has a little bit higher, some a little bit lower. I want it sometimes very low, like flamenco guitars. I want this a little bit higher, so I make the bridge after I make the guitar. And you can see that I'm tuning the guitar using my telephone, my iPhone, okay? And that's Tommy's guitar, yeah, first guitar. And that's the friend where Tommy, well, yeah, dedicate the guitar to. Okay, so do I have more time, Tommy?
Yes, yes, the
All right.
the 12 minutes.
All right. Now, those are the basic way of making a guitar. Yeah, I just show you more or less less than an hour how it's made, but um, I have to say, making a guitar is for me it's like a hobby. I still keep on making guitar. I still try to improve my guitar. Always thinking about the sound. Always thinking about the playability and yeah. I always try to make my next guitar better than the last one. Though I really don't have that much time nowadays, but I do still make guitar, and it's fun. It's not difficult if you're really interested. It's fun. There's a lot of things you have to learn. I started making guitar at the age of around 13. The first guitar I made. Oh, what's that? Should I keep on talking? Oh, sorry. The first guitar I made was when I was around 12 or 13 years old. And it was a small guitar that I made because I like woodworking, and then I made this small guitar and I burned it afterwards. My mother was very mad at me. So I made a second one. I painted it green, and it was so big, and it just imploded because the string tension. I didn't know anything about string tension and all that, so it just imploded. But those were the times I really started being curious about how guitars were made, and little by little, I kept on doing it. And when I was around 15, yeah, I went to in the Philippines. I was in the Philippines. I went to learn how to. Uh, there was a guitar store named Guitar Masters. That was a long time ago. It's closed now. Where there were workers, and I learned from them how they were making guitars. So the basic things was, yeah, I learned from that place until I went to Spain and learned from my mentor Manuel Cáceres and the world legendary guitar maker Arcangel Fernandez. Oh, there's a question here. Anonymous, hi Mr. Adolfo, is it necessary to make a classical guitar according to the exact measurement? Can one improvise a bit? That's a very good question. Now, when you say classical guitar, you deal with tradition. If I am going to make an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, you can do anything you want. Change the shape, whatever shape you get. But when we talk about classical guitar, just by the word classical, it means that you have to follow a certain traditional line. When I say tradition, people forget that before it became a tradition, it was already been experimented for many years. And then it became a standard thing, and then people say, this is tradition. But scientifically, it has been proven that the shape of the guitar, the playability of the guitar has a certain dimension and a certain way that it's built. So, for example, the scale length here is 650, which has been standardized by the great Antonio Torres from Almeria, Spain. And all the guitar maker, the classical guitar maker, uses a 650. You can go up to 660. I have seen longer size, a little bit longer, and also a little bit smaller, 640, 630 scale length. But still, majority of guitar makers follow the traditional 650. And because that is what we call the standard scale length, guitar string makers use that length to make their strings. So the tension will be just right for the fingers for a 650. If you put a string that is specially made for 650, which is the standard, to a guitar which is shorter, it will be very soft and sometimes wobbly. Not really wobbly, but you will feel that it's too soft. And if you make a string that's for 650, but you put it on a 660 scale length, it becomes too hard. I think nowadays there are special strings that they make in Japan, I heard, especially for 640 and especially for 660, you know. So, but there is a standard. The standard is 650. The shape of a guitar is like this, more or less. We copy the Torres one, but a bit bigger now because the sound we want it bigger. Right, there's another question. Anonymous. Also, may I know, are there ways to improve the sound and tone of the guitar after completing it? All right. When a guitar is being built, if you use the right wood, I'm not talking about plywood, but I'm talking about solid wood. The guitar by itself, if you play, even though you don't really play it, will improve in sound by itself because the wood will be dry, will become drier, it will crystallize, and it will, yeah, it will dry also the varnish, of course, it will dry. I mean, when you have a new guitar and the varnish just recent, it's not really dry perfectly. So after a year or so, your guitar will improve a lot, very much. Now, maybe your question is, can I improve the sound of the guitar? Well, there's not very much you can do. You can adjust. For example, you find that the bone is too high for your fingers, then you can put it lower. If it's buzzing, then you can put it higher. If this is kind of hard to push, you can lower this one, and that's it. So, yeah, if you have a very good handmade guitar, it should improve in time. My guitar improves in time because that's how concert guitars are made, so that the sound will be better through the years you use. Yes. How to choose the wood for making guitar? All right. We have standard wood for making guitar. It's a solid wood. I'm not talking about plywood because plywood are not really the best wood for making guitar. It has to be solid wood, quarter sawn, and what we call mirror cut, all the fibers from the top to the bottom. And I'm trying to do it very fast now. And the spacing of the string of the grain should be not too wide. That's no good because the wood is too soft and then no good. Too tight also means that the tree is very old, and too old the wood, it's kind of too brittle. It has to be something like maybe around 25 to 30 grains per inch, more or less, and all throughout from here up to here, even. Okay. Of course, it all depends also on the maker. Some of us makers, we use a very tight grain and make the soundboard very thin. You can do it that way. It all depends on how good the maker also is. Yes, another question. May I know what is the cause of tuning if it doesn't sound in tune, even if I tune it correctly, is to do with the height of the string to the top. All right. Now we're talking about intonation. Now this has a scale length. The 12th fret should be the same from the 12 to the bone, to here, theoretically. But in practice, you have to move the bone a bit away, around maybe around 2 mm maximum. Move back a little bit so that when you push the strings, which creates an angle, because this is the true strength. But when you push the string, it creates an angle, and that angle will sharpen if this one is put exactly on the same length from 0 to 12 fret to the bridge. Cannot. You cannot do that. That's a mistake. You have to move the bridge back a little bit so that when you push this one, it will sound good. It will not sound sharp like no. It will sound okay. So maybe that's the cause of your problem of the guitar. Maybe the bridge is wrong, or it's too high. Also, if it becomes sharp, it means that yeah, there is no compensation. Compensation means to move the bone around 2 and then behind. Do we have another question? Okay. Do you think the latest new technology of science and material science can produce much to better quality of instruments than legendary from the past history? Well, I would like to believe that. I really do like to believe that, and maybe this is a personal opinion of mine. I have tested many guitars that were uh, while construction, measured by computers, everything and all that. But sad to say, I didn't feel, I wasn't really convinced. I always think because computer can measure many things, but the human ear and the mind can do more. It all depends on how you understand it. What is sound to you? Even if you measure the volume, whatever those guys do, if it's not musical, if the instrument is not musical, um, no, it's no good. Maybe a combination of the old style, which I have studied, and the new technology now, putting it together, which I hope they are doing, I'm not sure, will create even better guitar. But I'm not very sure right now if they're doing it because the guitars I have tested, uh, I wasn't really convinced. Maybe they were louder, but it wasn't focused very well and didn't have the warmth of an instrument I always look for in a guitar. Yes, again. No, may I know what is the average lifespan of a handmade guitar? All right, if you take care the guitar properly, it will last longer than the owner. But when you have this string pulling 24 hours for many years, the wood become fatigued. It will give some years or someday it will be tired of always trying to bear the tension, and the sound will decrease because the elasticity will be lost. But before that point comes, I think it will take many years, many years. You should be happy with the same guitar you're playing for 10 years or even longer. And of course, if you are just asking if it will withstand time, if it's properly taken care of, it will stay longer than the older. It will improve in sound for the maybe as you buy now for the next 5 or even 10 years improving sound. And then after that, maybe it will start to be weak because the fatigue, the wood is starting to get tired. So, any more question? Oh, the conclusion. Well, I really don't know what to say about the conclusion, but I can always say if you really has perseverance, you like doing something, not just guitar making, and you really have a purpose, I would like to encourage everybody to learn, even the guitar players, to learn and know what a guitar is, how it's constructed. Me, I'm a guitar player, so I think I understand the guitar in a way maybe most other guitar player who doesn't make guitar knows. So even if you're an amateur or whatever player or starting to wanting to become a guitar maker, I do encourage them. This is a fun thing. I've been doing this all my life, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still learning, and I'm happy every day. It's not work for me. It's more like a hobby. I'm just curious about the guitar all my life. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the little talk and my little demo. I hope I answered all your questions. So, gracias. Thank you very much.